When two alien sisters walked through a glowing portal into my apartment, I thought choosing between them would be impossible. I had no idea refusing to choose would change three worlds forever. I never believed in aliens, not even a little bit. Sure, I watched the movies and read the articles about UFO sightings, but I always thought it was just people wanting to believe in something bigger. That all changed on a Tuesday night when I was sitting in my apartment eating leftover pizza and watching some random documentary about space. The first thing I noticed was the light. It wasn't like a regular light from a lamp or a phone screen. This was different, like someone had taken a piece of the ocean and made it glow blue. It started as a small dot in the middle of my living room, right between my coffee table and the TV. I actually rubbed my eyes, thinking maybe I was more tired than I realized. But the light kept growing. It stretched and twisted, forming a circle that floated in the air. I dropped my pizza slice. My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. Then, through this impossible glowing doorway, two figures stepped into my apartment. They looked human, but also completely not human at the same time. Their skin had this shimmer to it, changing colors between silver and soft purple depending on how they moved. Their eyes were the most striking part, sparkling like someone had captured actual stars and put them where normal eyes should be. They were both tall, graceful, and honestly, the most beautiful beings I'd ever seen. I sat frozen on my couch, a piece of cheese hanging from my chin, probably looking like the least impressive human they could have chosen to visit. One of them smiled at me, and it was warm, genuine. She stepped forward first. "Please don't be afraid," she said in perfect English, though her voice had this musical quality to it. "My name is Lyra, and this is my sister Nova. We come from a planet called Azurea." I managed to close my mouth, then open it again, then close it. Finally, I squeaked out, "Aliens?" Nova, the other sister, laughed. It sounded like wind chimes. "Yes, though we prefer Azurians. We've been observing Earth for some time. We need your help." Now, you'd think my first question would be about spaceships or technology or whether they were going to probe me. But instead, all I could think was, why me? I'm literally nobody special. Lyra tilted her head, studying me with those incredible eyes. "That's exactly why. We need someone ordinary, someone genuine, someone who lives a real human life, not someone famous or powerful who might have ulterior motives." They explained their mission while I tried to process that aliens were standing in my living room. Their civilization, thousands of years more advanced than ours, had evolved beyond emotions. They'd become so focused on logic, efficiency, and technology that they'd lost something essential. They couldn't feel joy, couldn't form deep connections, couldn't experience love or passion or any of the messy, beautiful things that made life worth living. "We've become empty," Nova said softly, and for a moment I saw something that looked like sadness flicker across her face. "We exist, but we don't truly live. When we studied Earth, we saw something we'd lost. Humans feel everything so deeply, so intensely. We want to understand that again." They needed a guide, someone to show them what it meant to be human, to feel human emotions and experiences. The Azurian Council had selected Earth as a study location, and after observing various people, they'd chosen me. I still wasn't sure why, but I wasn't about to say no to the most interesting thing that had ever happened to me. That first night, we just talked. Lyra asked questions about everything: why humans created art, what music meant to us, how we could cry from both sadness and joy. Her curiosity was endless, and I found myself explaining things I'd never really thought about before. Why do we keep photos of memories? What makes a sunset beautiful? Why does a sad song sometimes make us feel better? Nova was different. She wanted to touch everything, experience everything. She ran her fingers over my bookshelf, picked up my guitar and strummed it awkwardly, laughed at the terrible sound. She found my collection of vinyl records and was amazed that humans had created so many different ways to preserve sound. While Lyra asked about the theory behind human behavior, Nova wanted to live it. I found myself drawn to both of them, but in completely different ways. When I talked to Lyra, I felt like my mind was expanding. She challenged every assumption I had, made me think deeper about simple things. When I was with Nova, I felt alive, energized, like everything was an adventure waiting to happen. As the night went on, something shifted. It wasn't just them studying me anymore. I caught Lyra watching me with an intensity that made my stomach flip. Nova kept finding excuses to stand closer, to touch my arm when she laughed at something I said. The air in the room felt charged, electric. Around 3 in the morning, Lyra reached out and gently took my hand. Her skin was warm, warmer than I expected. "You feel that?" she asked quietly. I nodded. I felt it. This connection, this pull between us. "So do I," she whispered. "I'm not supposed to. My people bred emotions out of ourselves centuries ago, but when I'm near you, I feel something awakening inside me." Before I could respond, Nova stepped closer too. "Me too," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "When you smile, something in my chest tightens. When you laugh, I want to laugh too. These sensations, they're overwhelming." I looked between these two incredible beings, my heart racing. This was insane. This was impossible. But it was also the most real thing I'd ever experienced. The sisters exchanged a glance, some silent communication passing between them. Then Lyra spoke. "We should go now. We've already stayed longer than we planned, but we'd like to come back tomorrow night if you'll allow it." I couldn't speak, so I just nodded like an idiot. Nova gave me a smile that made my knees weak. "Tomorrow, then." They stepped back through their portal of blue light, and just like that, they were gone. The portal closed with a soft sound like a sigh, and I was alone in my apartment again. The pizza was cold on the floor. The documentary was still playing on TV, ironically now showing some expert saying aliens probably didn't exist. I sat back down on my couch, my mind racing. What had just happened? 2 alien sisters had walked into my life, and somehow, impossibly, I was developing feelings for both of them. Not just curiosity or fascination, but real, genuine attraction. The logical part of my brain was screaming that this was crazy. The rest of me didn't care. I knew that when they came back tomorrow night, everything would get more complicated. On Earth, you're supposed to choose one person. You date one person, fall in love with one person. But how was I supposed to choose between Lyra's brilliant mind and Nova's passionate spirit? How could anyone expect me to pick between 2 halves of something perfect? I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there watching the spot where the portal had been, counting down the hours until they would return. My life had been normal, predictable, maybe even a little boring. In one night, all of that had changed. 2 alien sisters had chosen me for reasons I still didn't understand, and I was falling for both of them. Tomorrow night couldn't come fast enough. The next day at work felt like a dream. Or maybe my real life was the dream, and last night had been reality. I couldn't focus on anything. My boss asked me 3 times if I was feeling okay because I kept staring off into space, literally thinking about space and the 2 beings who'd come from it. My coworker Rita noticed too. "You look different," she said during lunch. "Did something happen? Did you meet someone?" I almost laughed. "Yeah, you could say that. Tell me everything," she demanded, but how could I? "Hey, Rita, I met 2 alien sisters last night, and I think I'm falling for both of them." She'd have me committed. The afternoon dragged on forever. Every minute felt like an hour. I kept checking my watch, willing time to move faster. Finally, my shift ended. I practically ran to my car. At home, I did something I never do. I cleaned my entire apartment. I showered, changed clothes 3 times, even tried to fix my hair in a way that looked intentional. Then I felt ridiculous. They were advanced aliens who could travel between worlds. They probably didn't care if I had dirty dishes in the sink, but I cared. I wanted them to see me at my best. 8 o'clock came and went. 9 o'clock. By 9:30, I was convinced I'd imagined the whole thing. Maybe I'd had some kind of breakdown. Maybe I needed to see a doctor. Then at exactly 10 o'clock, the blue light appeared again. This time I was ready. I stood up as the portal formed, my heart pounding with excitement instead of fear. Lyra stepped through first, wearing something different than last night, a flowing outfit that seemed to move like liquid. Nova followed, and she was grinning like she'd been looking forward to this all day too. "You cleaned," Lyra observed, looking around. I shrugged, embarrassed. "Yeah, well, wanted the place to look decent." Nova laughed. "For us? You cleaned for us?" The way she said it with such delight made my embarrassment worth it. That night I took them out. I figured if they wanted to understand human emotions and experiences, we needed to leave my apartment. I took them to the city, to places I loved, places that made me feel alive. First stop was this little coffee shop that stayed open late. The owner, an old guy named Vincent, made the best coffee in the city. Lyra was fascinated by the entire concept. You take seeds from a plant, roast them, grind them, add hot water, and drink the result. And this brings pleasure? Just try it, I said, sliding a cup toward her. She took a careful sip and her eyes widened. Oh, this is complex. Bitter but also smooth with undertones of something sweet, and the warmth spreading through my body. This is pleasant. Nova grabbed her cup and drank half of it in one gulp, then made a face. Too hot. But yes, good. Strange but good. Vincent watched this interaction with amusement. He probably thought I was on a really interesting date. He had no idea. After coffee, we walked through the downtown area. The city was alive with people, music spilling out from bars, street performers entertaining crowds. Nova was mesmerized by everything. She wanted to stop and watch a guitarist playing on a corner, swaying to the music with her eyes closed. He's singing about losing someone he loved, she said softly. Why does sadness sound so beautiful? I didn't have an answer for that, but Lyra did. Perhaps because feeling anything deeply is better than feeling nothing at all. Even pain proves you're alive. We walked for hours, and somewhere along the way, Nova took my left hand and Lyra took my right. It felt natural, like this was exactly how it was supposed to be. People probably stared at us, 3 people holding hands walking down the street, but I didn't care. I took them to my favorite spot in the whole city, a bridge that overlooked the river. At night, the city lights reflected on the water, and it was like seeing 2 cities at once, one real and one made of light. We leaned against the railing, and for a while, nobody spoke. Then Lyra said, On Azurea, we built cities that float in the sky. They're architectural marvels, perfect in their design. But they don't make me feel anything. This bridge, this simple structure, it makes me feel something I can't name. Wonder, I suggested. Or maybe peace. Yes, she breathed. Peace, we lost that too. Nova was quiet, which was unusual for her. When I looked over, I saw tears running down her face. Nova, what's wrong? She touched her cheek, looking at her wet fingers in amazement. I'm crying. I didn't know I could do this. We eliminated tears generations ago as an inefficient response to emotion. But I feel so much right now and my body is responding. This is incredible. I pulled her into a hug without thinking and she held on to me tightly. Lyra moved closer too, and suddenly we were all holding each other on this bridge while the city moved around us, and it was perfect. Absolutely perfect. But later that night, back at my apartment, things got complicated. Lyra sat down across from me, her expression serious. I need to tell you something about Azurian customs. When we form a deep connection with someone, we call it bonding. It's more than what humans call love. It's a complete joining of minds and souls. Nova sat beside her sister, nodding. Bonding is permanent. Once formed, it can never be broken. It's the most sacred thing in our culture. My throat went dry. Okay, I think, Lyra continued, her voice shaking slightly. I think I'm beginning to bond with you. Every moment we spend together, the connection grows stronger. Me too, Nova added quickly. I feel it too. They looked at each other and I saw something flash between them. Concern, competition? I couldn't tell. On Azurea, Lyra explained, one person can only bond with one other person. It's impossible to bond with 2 individuals. The connection is too intense, too complete. It would tear someone apart. I felt my stomach drop. So you're saying? We're saying you have to choose, Nova finished, and her voice cracked. Between us. You have to choose one of us. The room went silent. How could I choose? Lyra made me think deeper, made me want to be smarter, better. She challenged me in ways that made me grow. Nova made me feel alive, made every moment an adventure. She brought out a joy in me I didn't know I had. Choosing between them would be like choosing between breathing and eating. Both were essential. Both were necessary. I whispered. I can't choose between you. The sisters looked at each other again, and this time I definitely saw pain in their faces. You have to, Lyra said gently. On our world, we have 3 days to make such decisions. After 3 days, the bonding process either completes or it ends forever. You have 3 days to choose which one of us you want to bond with. 3 days to make an impossible choice. 3 days to break one of their hearts, and probably my own in the process. As they prepared to leave that night, both sisters touched my face gently, one after the other. Their eyes held so much emotion, these beings who weren't supposed to feel anything at all. We'll be back tomorrow, Nova said. Whatever you decide, we'll understand. But as the portal closed behind them, I collapsed onto my couch. How could they possibly understand when I didn't understand myself? How could anyone expect me to choose when my heart had somehow expanded to hold both of them? I had 3 days to make the most important decision of my life, and I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. Day 1 of my impossible deadline, and I was a mess. I called in sick to work, which I never do, but there was no way I could function normally. My mind was spinning with thoughts of Lyra and Nova, playing through every moment we'd shared, trying to find some logical way to make this decision. The problem was, there was no logic to it. Love, or whatever this was, didn't work that way. I tried making a list, pros and cons of each sister, like I was buying a car or choosing a phone plan. It felt wrong immediately, reducing these incredible beings to bullet points on paper. I crumpled it up and threw it away. By afternoon, I was pacing my apartment like a caged animal. That's when my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? It's me, Lyra. Her voice sounded different over the phone, more distant. I hope it's okay that I called. Nova showed me how your communication devices work. My heart jumped. Of course it's okay. Is everything all right? There was a pause. I wanted to talk to you alone, without my sister. Is that wrong of me? I sat down slowly. No, it's not wrong. I've been thinking, she began, about everything. About you, about this situation. In all my research on humans, I found something interesting. Your poets and philosophers have written for thousands of years about impossible choices, about love that defies logic. Romeo and Juliet, Tristan and Isolde, stories of people who chose love over everything else, even when it seemed impossible. Those stories don't usually end well, I pointed out. She laughed softly. No, they don't. But they prove that humans have always understood something my people forgot. That some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds are against you, even when it seems impossible. Lyra, what are you saying? Another pause, longer this time. I'm saying that I don't want to lose you. But I also don't want to lose my sister, and I'm wondering if there's a way to have both. Before I could respond, she quickly added, I have to go. Nova's coming. I'll see you tonight. The call ended, leaving me more confused than before. Was she suggesting what I thought she was suggesting? An hour later, my phone rang again. This time it was Nova. Don't be mad, she said immediately. I know Lyra called you. I'm not checking up or being jealous. I wanted to talk to you too. I'm not mad, I assured her. What's on your mind? Everything, she admitted. You mostly. This choice we're forcing you to make. It's not fair. We came to Earth to learn about human emotions, and the first thing we do is put you through this torture. Some teachers we are. I smiled despite everything. You've taught me plenty. You've taught me what it feels like to truly connect with someone. Two someones. That's the thing though, Nova said, her voice getting excited. In all my studying of human culture, I found these stories, these histories of different ways people love. Not everyone does it the same way. Not everyone follows the same rules. And I started thinking, what if Azurian rules don't have to apply here? What if on Earth we could find a different way? You're talking about us. All three of us. Maybe, she said carefully. I know it sounds crazy. I know it's against everything we were taught. But then again, feeling emotions was against everything we were taught too, and look at us now. We're breaking rules just by having this conversation. After she hung up, I sat in stunned silence. Both sisters separately had hinted at the same impossible idea. What if I didn't have to choose? What if there was a way for all three of us to be together? That night, they came back together as always. The blue portal opened at 10 o'clock sharp, and both sisters stepped through. But this time there was something different in the air. A nervousness and anticipation. We need to talk, Lyra said. All of us, Nova added. We sat down in my living room, and for a moment, nobody spoke. Then Lyra and Nova looked at each other, having one of their silent sister conversations. Finally, Lyra turned to me. We've been doing research, she began, about Earth, about human customs and traditions, and we discovered something we didn't know before. Nova picked up where she left off. On ancient Azurea, before we evolved beyond emotions, there were stories. Legends of something called triadic bonds. 3 people bound together instead of 2. They were rare, incredibly rare, but they existed. We always thought they were myths, Lyra continued. Stories we told to children. But we contacted the council today, asked the elders about these legends, and they told us that triadic bonds were real. They were just so difficult, so complex that they disappeared as our people became more focused on logic and efficiency. I leaned forward. What exactly is a triadic bond? It's when 3 people form a complete connection, Nova explained. Not one person with two others, but all three together equally. And triangle instead of a line. Each person connected to the other two with equal strength. The elders said it was almost impossible, Lyra added. It required perfect balance, perfect harmony between all three individuals. If one connection was stronger than another, the whole bond would collapse. But when it worked, when all three people truly loved each other equally, it was the strongest bond possible. My heart was racing. Are you saying what I think you're saying? They both nodded. Nova spoke first. We're saying we don't want you to choose. We want to try something that hasn't been done in thousands of years. We want to attempt a triadic bond. But there's risk, Lyra warned. The ceremony to create such a bond is intense. It could fail. And if it fails, we all lose each other. Not just you losing one of us, but all three of us being separated forever. And even if we attempt it, Nova added, there's no guarantee it will work. We have to travel to Azuria to do the ceremony. You'd have to leave Earth, go to our world. No human has ever done that. I looked between them, these two incredible beings who had walked into my life and turned everything upside down. 3 days ago, I was eating cold pizza and watching TV. Now I was being asked to travel to an alien world to attempt a bonding ceremony that might not even work. What if it does work? I asked. What happens then? Then we're connected forever, Lyra said softly. Our minds, our souls, our hearts. We would feel what each other feels, know what each other knows. We would be three separate people, but also one complete unit. And we could be together, Nova added. All of us. No choosing, no losing anyone. Just the three of us connected in a way that most beings never experience. I thought about my ordinary life, my routine, my safe and predictable existence. I thought about everything I'd be giving up. Then I thought about what I'd be gaining, not just one incredible partner, but two. Not just love, but a connection deeper than most people could even imagine. There's something else you should know, Lyra said hesitantly. If the bond succeeds, you can't stay on Earth permanently. You'd have to split your time between our worlds. Our people would need to study you, understand how a human formed a triadic bond with Azurians. You'd be giving up your privacy, your anonymity. And your family and friends would never fully understand where you go or what you're doing, Nova added. You'd have to keep secrets. Live a double life, essentially. They were giving me every reason to say no, every logical argument against this insane idea. But I'd learned something from them over these past days. Sometimes the most important decisions aren't logical. Sometimes you have to follow your heart, even when your head is screaming that you're crazy. When do we leave? I asked. Both sisters stared at me. You mean, Lyra started. You're actually going to do this, Nova finished. I stood up, feeling more certain than I'd felt about anything in my life. You came to Earth to learn about human emotions, right? Well, here's what I've learned. Love makes you brave. It makes you willing to risk everything for a chance at something extraordinary. And what we have, what the three of us have together, that's worth the risk. Nova jumped up and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Lyra moved more slowly, but when she wrapped her arms around both of us, I felt her trembling. We'll need a few days to prepare, Lyra said, her voice muffled against my shoulder. The ceremony requires specific conditions, and we need to teach you how to survive on Azurea. The atmosphere is different. The gravity is different. Your body will need adjustments. Plus, you need to tell people here something, Nova added. Your job, your friends. You can't just disappear. She was right. I pulled back from the hug. I'll tell work I need extended leave for family reasons. My friends, I'll figure something out. When do we leave? 4 days, Lyra said. We'll come every night until then, prepare you as much as we can. And then we find out if three hearts can truly beat as one, Nova finished. As they left that night, I realized I wasn't scared. I was excited. In 4 days, I'd be leaving Earth for an alien world, attempting something that hadn't been done in millennia, risking everything for two beings I'd known less than a week. But somehow, it felt right. It felt like destiny if such a thing existed. I had 4 days to prepare for the most important moment of my life. 4 days until I found out if love really could conquer all, even the impossible. The next 4 days were the strangest of my life. During the day, I went through the motions of being a normal human. I filed paperwork for extended personal leave, told my confused boss I had a family situation that required immediate attention. I met with Rita and a few other friends, making vague excuses about needing to travel for a while. Rita wasn't buying it. "You're being super weird," she said over coffee. "This isn't like you. What's really going on?" I wanted so badly to tell her the truth. Instead, I just smiled. "I met someone special. Actually, two someones, and I need to see where this goes." Her eyes went wide. "Two people? Like at the same time?" "It's complicated. I bet it is." She laughed, but then her expression turned serious. "Just promise me you're being safe, and that you're happy." "I promise," I said, and meant it. I'd never been happier or more terrified in my life. Every night, Lyra and Nova came through the portal. They brought devices from their world, machines that looked like something from a science fiction movie. These devices would slowly adjust my body to Azuria's atmosphere and gravity. The process wasn't painful, just strange. I'd sit still while blue light washed over me, and I could feel my cells changing, adapting. "Your body is remarkably flexible," Lyra observed one night, checking readings on a device that looked like a crystal tablet. "Most species can't adapt this quickly. Perhaps that's another reason the Council chose Earth for our study. Humans are surprisingly resilient." Nova was teaching me their language. "You won't need it much during the ceremony," she explained. "But afterward, if the bond succeeds, you'll be living part-time on our world. You'll need to communicate." Their language was beautiful, all flowing sounds and musical tones. I was terrible at it, but Nova was patient, laughing with me instead of at me when I accidentally said something that translated to, "My foot is a flying purple elephant." But it wasn't all preparation and lessons. We also just spent time together, the three of us, making memories before everything changed. We watched movies. They were fascinated by human storytelling. We cooked meals together, even though Azurians didn't need to eat like humans did. Nova loved the process of cooking, the transformation of raw ingredients into something delicious. One night, we just lay on my living room floor looking up at the ceiling, talking about everything and nothing. "Are you scared?" I asked them. "Terrified," Lyra admitted. The ceremony could fail. We could lose each other. Or it could succeed, and we'd be bound forever to someone we've known for such a short time. "Both options are frightening, but worth it," Nova added firmly. "You're worth it." "This is worth it," I reached out, taking both their hands. "What if I'm not enough? What if I get there and I can't handle it? I'm just a regular person. You're these advanced beings from a civilization thousands of years ahead of us. What if I fail you?" Lyra squeezed my hand. "You've already given us more than you know. Before we met you, we were empty. We existed, but we didn't live. You've shown us what it means to feel, to connect, to care about someone more than yourself. Even if the ceremony fails, you've already changed us forever." On the fourth night, the last night before we left, they didn't bring devices or lessons. They just came to be with me. We sat on my small balcony looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there was Azuria, their home, the world I'd be traveling to tomorrow. "Tell me about the ceremony," I said. "What actually happens?" Lyra was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. "It takes place in an ancient temple. The structure is thousands of years old, from before our people evolved beyond emotion. It's built from crystalline materials that amplify mental and emotional energy." Nova continued the explanation. "We'll stand in a triangular formation. You, me, and Lyra, each at one point of the triangle. Ancient technology will activate, merging our consciousness temporarily. We'll experience each other's thoughts, feelings, memories. Everything we are will be laid bare. That's when we'll know if the bond can form," Lyra added. "If our minds and hearts are truly compatible, if we can accept each other completely, the bond will begin to take hold. But if there's any doubt, any hesitation, any fundamental incompatibility, the process will reject us." "What does rejection feel like?" I asked nervously. "We don't know," Nova admitted. "It's been so long since anyone attempted this. The ancient texts say it's painful, but not physically, more like emotional agony, the feeling of something precious being ripped away." I swallowed hard. "And if it works?" Both sisters smiled. "Then we become something new," Lyra said. "Not three separate individuals, but not one being either. We'll maintain our individual personalities, but we'll always know what the others are feeling. We'll be able to communicate without words, share thoughts and emotions instantly. We'll be family," Nova said simply, "in the deepest possible way." That night we didn't sleep. We stayed up until dawn, just being together. We talked about our hopes, our fears, our dreams for the future. Nova told stories about growing up on Azuria, the floating cities and the twin moons. Lyra shared her research, her fascination with Earth's diverse cultures. I told them about my childhood, my family, the small town where I grew up. As the sun rose, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, I realized something. Whatever happened tomorrow, I wouldn't regret this choice. These two beings had shown me a bigger universe, both literally and metaphorically. They'd expanded my understanding of what was possible, of what connection could mean. "It's time," Lyra said as the last stars faded from the sky. "We should go now. The ceremony is timed with Azarea's solar alignment. We have a small window." I took one last look at my apartment, at my normal human life. Then I turned to Lyra and Nova. "I'm ready." The portal opened, but this time it was different. Larger, more stable. This wasn't just for a quick visit. This was for a journey between worlds. "Take our hands," Nova instructed. "Don't let go no matter what. The space between worlds can be disorienting." I gripped their hands tightly. Together we stepped into the blue light. The sensation was impossible to describe. It felt like being stretched and compressed at the same time, like existing in multiple places at once. Colors I'd never seen before swirled around us. Sounds that weren't really sounds echoed in my head. Time felt meaningless, like we were traveling for both an instant and an eternity. Then suddenly we were through. I stumbled, and both sisters steadied me. "Welcome to Azarea," Lyra said softly. I looked up and forgot how to breathe. The sky was purple, a deep, rich purple like twilight that stretched in all directions. 2 moons hung in the sky, one silver and one gold. In the distance, I could see the floating cities they'd described. Impossible structures of crystal and light suspended in the air by technology I couldn't begin to understand. But we weren't in a city. We were standing in what looked like a garden, but the plants were unlike anything on Earth. Trees with silver bark and leaves that chimed like bells in the wind. Flowers that glowed softly, pulsing with their own internal light. The air smelled like rain and ozone and something sweet I couldn't identify. "This is the temple garden," Nova explained. "The ceremony site is just ahead." I could see it now, a structure that seemed to grow out of the ground itself. It was made entirely of crystal, clear as glass but somehow solid. Light moved through it in patterns that looked almost alive. "Are you ready?" Lyra asked, and I heard the nervousness in her voice. I looked at both of them, these incredible beings who had chosen me, who were willing to risk everything for a chance at something beautiful. "I'm ready," I said, and meant it with every fiber of my being. Together we walked toward the temple, toward a ceremony that would either bind us together forever or tear us apart, toward a future that was completely unknown, but filled with possibility. The adventure was just beginning. The temple was even more breathtaking inside. The crystalline walls caught the light from Azarea's twin moons, splitting it into colors that shifted and danced across every surface. The floor beneath my feet was smooth and warm, humming with some kind of energy I could feel through my shoes. There were others waiting for us. Azurans, a dozen of them, wearing formal robes that shimmered like starlight. These must be the elders, the council members who would oversee the ceremony. One of them stepped forward, elderly even by their standards. Her skin had faded to almost pure silver, and her eyes held the weight of centuries. She looked at me with open curiosity. "A human," she said in English, her accent strange but understandable. "I never thought I would witness this day. I am Elder Celestine. I was present at the last triadic,